Good morning. This is the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Sunday, June 26th. On the impact map, we have a mix of wet and marginally wet and dry strikes the further west you go into Nevada once again today. Things start changing early next week. We see a lot of that monsoonal moisture shifting to the far south and east, again, mostly on the wet side. We are looking at increasing winds and heat, though, as we get into Monday. You see the purple color, temperatures rising up sharply about 10 degrees. We'll see single-digit humidities across much of Nevada. And then by Tuesday, not only do we continue having that heat there and spreading into parts of Utah as well, but we start seeing gusty winds, gusts up to 30, 35 miles per hour, low humidity. We'll have to watch as these breezes start intersecting areas that have had recent lightning. Looking at lightning, we did have some more strikes. These are probably the higher concern here across the higher terrain of central Nevada. Most of the activity you see here in Utah has been on the wetter side, maybe a bit drier towards the Utah-Nevada border. Quite an active day with the lightning and some human starts, new fire starts in the red, existing or recent fires in the yellow, large fires with teams in the open circles. There's the left fork fire, so we see quite a bit of activity starting to overspread the area and also getting to some of the portions of southern Idaho. Over the past 7 days, quite a large aerial extent of moisture, not as much accumulation of it in Nevada. It's been accompanied by higher humidity, but we have seen lots of rainfall amounts of quarter to a half inch into the higher terrain of Utah and parts of the Arizona Strip, keeping things quite moist. And it's done a number on the fuels, the 100-hour fuels. If you've been watching these briefings from about a week ago, this red color was covering almost the southern half of Nevada and the southern half of Utah. It's been beaten back quite a ways. And if we look at some of the finer fuels, still critically dry in the south, we can see here in Utah, they've risen dramatically. They are in the somewhere between 7 and 10% in a lot of these areas. So the grass there are just not really conducive in many areas other than some isolated islands for large-scale spread. Satellite imagery shows that monsoonal air mass and the clouds shows up pretty nicely connected all the way down to Mexico, and portions of it brushing southeast Utah, and also a portion has broken off into parts of northern Utah and into much of northern Nevada. That's where the storms will be more isolated, have a chance to be a little drier. So we'll be watching that. So for later today, there is the high pressure ridge building in, temperatures rising quite a bit across western Nevada. There's the deep monsoonal moisture again pushing into eastern Utah once again, and a little green blip here. It'll be more isolated storms the further west you go. You can see some of the outflow boundaries from these storms in the mountains of central Nevada and the Rubies later today, and otherwise winds overall light except for some of these gusty outflows from the thunderstorms themselves. The humidity drying out quite a bit, single digits in the west, still getting up into the low and mid-teens as you head further north and east. Now for tomorrow, the monsoonal moisture starts to shift further eastwards because we're seeing a fairly deep low pressure area starting to drop down from off the Pacific Northwest coast. The breezes will start picking up. 70 on the right-hand side, you can see where we've really greened things out along with our monsoonal friends in Arizona, New Mexico, and parts of Colorado. Not much going on here. We do start to see the winds coming in off the Sierra into far western Nevada. Otherwise, light winds overall, still those dry humidities in the west, moderately high in the north and east. And by Tuesday, that gradient intensifies a bit. We see some monsoonal moisture, a few blips breaking off into parts of Utah. So kind of a mix of what's going on in the 7-day map. But the one thing you see is upper level winds here, 45 knots. That mixes down to the surface. We see a wide band of winds in that 30, 35, even close to 40 mile per hour gust range. And some of this stuff is where we've had some lightning, and even down here, not quite high risk category, but maybe 15 to 25 mile an hour winds in the afternoon in some of these areas that have had a lot of lightning the last couple of days and some current fire activity. We'll have to watch. Again, look at those dry humidities starting to push a bit further eastwards. 3-day precipitation totals, again, mostly in eastern Utah. On Wednesday, this model continues to show a pretty good monsoonal push into eastern Utah. So we'll probably get more rain, stay on the green side through there, more dryness and breezes Wednesday across Nevada and that dryness and breezy condition continues in northwest Nevada. On Thursday, monsoonal moisture continues to tickle far eastern Utah Thursday, and even Friday, that monsoonal moisture is still not too far away, so we don't expect any considerable drying in our eastern areas. It's more across Nevada that we start seeing the drying, and a little bit up in Idaho as well. And that same trend goes into Saturday. Maybe some stronger winds. We'll have to monitor this as we get into next weekend. 7-day precipitation totals. There'll be some added precipitation with the monsoonal push that comes in late Wednesday, Thursday across eastern areas, otherwise dry. And the 8 to 14 day, kind of a mixed bag, cooler than normal across western areas, warmer than normal in the far east. So I would say it's shading towards cooler than normal. And part of that is because the monsoon never really strays far away. And we also have some showers coming into parts of the Pacific Northwest and our northern areas of the Great Basin to parts of central Idaho mountains. In between, though, still drier than normal. So probably be the focus of our concerns over the next 8 to 14 days. And this concludes our briefing. Have a great day.